let's talk about the stock of Cooperative Bank of Kenya. And this is a key one because Cooperative Bank of Kenya stock is one of the stocks which have performed very well at the Nairobi Securities Exchange this year. And I'm saying so because over the past 1 year, the stock has increased by upwards of 115% on its share price appreciation, right? And despite this massive run, the bank is still paying an attractive dividend and growing its profit. So in case a person could have invested in the stock of Cooperative Bank starting last year, they could really have enjoyed very, very high share price appreciation and also consistent dividends. And just looking at the number regarding share price appreciation, we are talking about 1 day gain on this particular stock being 1.9%, 5 days gain being 4.3%, 1 month gain being 7%, year-to-date gain being 54.5%. Simply put, in the year 2026 alone, the stock of Cooperative Bank has gained by 54.5%. And of course, as mentioned, over the past 1 year, it's gained 115%. Just based on this, do you think the Cooperative Bank stock is a good buy? Comment down below. I want to see your comment in the comment section. Do you think it is a good buy, or even so, do you own the stock of Cooperative Bank? In case you are new here, my name is Afagza Sifuna. I am a finance expert and qualified accountant, bringing you amazing videos about investing and making money each and every day. In case those are kind of topics you should like, down there is a button called subscribe. Click the button for you to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss amazing videos I upload each and every day. And while you still at it, drop a like on this video. And of course, as always, in the comment section, I've also pinned a comment with additional resources which you can go by for you to be able to level up when it comes to investing in the stock market. Having said that, let's jump right in it, starting with the company snapshot. Cooperative Bank is an interesting bank because it's gone through an interesting journey for it to become a commercial bank in Kenya. It traces its roots back to 1968 when it began as a cooperative movement or cooperative society. And then over years, it did evolve, right? To it converting to become a commercial bank in 1994. And then it was listed at the end of 2008 at the NSE. Today, the bank serves individuals, businesses, corporates, and cooperative sector. And also, it has subsidiaries. For example, Kingdom Bank, Kingdom Securities, and Cooperative Trust Investment Services, which are subsidiaries of the Cooperative Bank. So it is no longer simply a bank that serves cooperatives. It's really expanded to serve a wider breadth of customers and also to have growing subsidiaries. So in case you decide to buy the stock of Cooperative Bank, what exactly are you getting onto? The very first thing is strong profitability. And I'm saying that because the profits of Cooperative Bank have grown consistently over the past 3 years. In 2023, the profits were 23.1 billion Kenya shillings. And I'm talking about profit after tax, okay? 2024, profit after tax was 25.45 billion Kenya shillings. 2025, it was 29.75 billion Kenya shillings. As you can see, profit is on the upward trajectory. And then the second thing you're going to be getting onto is strong growth. And I'm talking about growth from the key aspects of what growth looks like in a commercial bank. Loans have increased to reach 421 billion Kenya shillings. Deposits have also grown to reach 574 billion Kenya shillings. And digital channels have also increased to handle over 90% of transactions, meaning the business is growing strongly across different areas, okay? And then the third thing you're going to be getting onto is attractive dividends. And I'm saying so because Cooperative Bank had an attractive dividend in the year 2025 because its dividend was total dividend of 2 shillings and 50 cents per share, which of course was an increase up from 1 shilling and 50 cents per share in the year 2024, meaning the dividend did increase because in 2025 it introduced a 1 shilling dividend as interim dividend. And then beyond that, the fourth thing you're going to be jumping onto is reasonable valuation. And I'm saying so because this particular stock has reasonable valuation, which actually is going to be enticing to you once you reach the section of doing valuation on this particular stock. Having spoken about that, let's now delve deep to look at the financial health of Cooperative Bank. And you're going to look at different aspects relating to the finances. Okay? Starting with total operating income. Total operating income of Cooperative Bank has increased over the past 3 years. And I'm saying so because in 2023, total operating income was 71.7 billion. 2024, it was 76.3 billion. And then 2025, it was 91.9 billion. That tells you total operating income has increased consistently over the past 3 years. Looking at profit after tax has also increased, as I've mentioned, rising from 23.1 billion in 2023 to 29.75 billion in 2025. And then looking at the EPS, or earnings per share, EPS has also increased consistently over the past 3 years, because the EPS in 2023 was 4 shillings and 23 cents. EPS in 2024 was 4 shillings and 33 cents. And then EPS in 2025 was 5 shillings and 4 cents, indicating EPS has also increased substantially. Then looking at the loans of the bank have also grown, because 2024 total loans were 373.7 billion Kenya shillings, and loans in 2025 grew by 12.7% to 421.0 billion Kenya shillings, which is a substantial jump in its loan book. And then looking at deposits of the bank also grew substantially, because they increased from 506 billion Kenya shillings in 2024 to 574 billion Kenya shillings in 2025. Therefore, deposits grew by about 13%. Therefore, on matters finances, the company is looking good because the key aspects are on the upward trajectory. Let's now look at financial quality. How is it faring on when it comes to financial quality, right? And we're going to start with return on equity. And the ROE of commercial bank is 19.1%. That's a strong return on shareholders' capital. Therefore, it is doing good on ROE. Looking at the return on assets is approximately 3.6%. Okay? And then looking at other ratios or measures which relate to quality, cost to income, and also non-performing loans. Cost to income of Cooperative Bank is 46.3%, excluding provisions. This shows that the bank is very efficient, because in the banking sector, the banks need to target to have a cost to income of under 50%. And Cooperative Bank is achieving that because it stands at 46.3%. And then when we look at non-performing loans, right, the NPL of the bank, NPL did reduce a bit, okay? Because in 2024, NPL was 16.8%, and then it decreased to 15.4% in 2025, and then it is indicating a further decrease in the first quarter of 2026 because it is at 14.4%. That is encouraging because it shows that asset quality appears to be improving, even though there is room for further improvement on asset qualities, mostly relating to non-performing loans. Okay? Therefore, when you look at all these, it shows us that when it comes to financial quality, this particular bank is doing pretty amazing. And where it is lagging behind, which is the NPL, it is also making commendable improvements. Now, let's look at dividends. How is it faring on? On the end of dividends, Cooperative Bank is one of the companies in the country which has actually rewarded investors out there with consistent dividends. And I'm saying so because over the past 5 years, the bank has constantly paid dividends, and dividends have increased in the most recent year. Because in 2021, dividends was 1 shilling per share. And then 2022 up to 2024, dividend was constantly at 1 shilling and 50 cents per share. And then in 2025, dividend jumped, right? Because it increased to 2 shillings and 50 cents per share. Meaning, this bank is consistently paying dividends in a very reliable way, right? And then when you look at the dividend yield, it stands at 6.8%, which is also commendable. When you compare the two things, it's very commendable because a dividend jump of 67% and dividend yield of 6.8% is something which is amazing to investors. Now, let's look at valuation. How is the company faring on across the different valuation matrices out there? Starting with the PE ratio. The PE ratio for the last financial year stands at 7.3 times, which of course is a modest PE ratio, is still under 10, but on the higher end. Then when you look at the PB ratio, right? The PB ratio for the past financial year is approximately 1.4 times, right? Which tells us that the market is actually placing a premium on the stock of Cooperative Bank, okay? And then when you look at the dividend yield, as mentioned, stood at 6.8%. Of course, other key aspects, like for example, ROE was almost 19%, which is amazing, right? And even beyond that, the stock of the company has risen, indicating the market is placing a premium on the stock of Cooperative Bank, which overall is reasonable valuation, right? I wouldn't say there's anything out of norm here. It is reasonable valuation, and there is nothing on this valuation which is indicating that the stock of Cooperative Bank is cheap. In fact, it is very reliable, and the market is placing a premium on the stock of Cooperative Bank. Then when you look at the risks, which risks is this particular stock and underlying business exposed to? Number one, of course, is credit risk. Remember, NPL remains high. We want NPL to come lower to even under 3%. Secondly, economic slowdown, because the cooperative is heavily exposed to the Kenyan economy, given its wide customer base. And then third one is interest rates, right? Changes in interest rates can affect loans, demand, and also bank margins. And then fourth, competition. Of course, Cooperative Bank is a Tier 1 bank in Kenya, and it has stiff competition from the likes of KCB, Equity, NCBA, you name it. And then number 5 is share price risk. And this is the biggest issue here, because for a new investor, right, after a jump of 115% when it comes to share appreciation over the past 1 year, right, does it mean that this is an enticing stock, or even so, the future of this stock is going to be shaky? Okay, so clearly this stock has some reasonable risks, but then again, a good chunk of these risks are under mitigation of the bank. And then looking at the future growth catalysts, there's possibility of growing loans, right? There is unlimited potential around digital banking. Of course, it's really doing very well when it comes to its subsidiaries, like for example, Kingdom Bank and also the Cooperative Bank Trust. Then there is room to improve asset quality. And of course, lastly, there is room to continue also, as investors out there are bound to continue enjoying dividend growth. Therefore, these are real growth catalysts for any investor out there. Having said that, would I buy the stock of Cooperative Bank today? Simply put, what is my verdict? And the answer is yes. I would buy the stock of Cooperative Bank today, but then again, I will buy it selectively. And I'm saying so because the things which are attractive to me are, for example, long-term investors exist on this particular stock, and even so, even part of their management are also investors on this particular stock. Meaning, even from inside the bank, they believe in this stock right from the CEO's level, okay? Secondly, the dividends are enticing, okay? And then third, this is a quality Kenyan bank. And of course, also, if a person is looking to invest for the long term, I'd say because of the going concern of Cooperative Bank, this is really an interesting stock to jump onto. So at the current price, I'd still buy this particular stock, but then again, I'd buy and accumulate slowly, as opposed to just jumping and putting a huge chunk of my portfolio on this particular stock. In case you are out there, will you buy the stock of Cooperative Bank? Or even so, do you hold the stock of Cooperative Bank? Comment down below. Let's continue discussing. But guys, I think the stock of Cooperative Bank is an enticing one and also a good potential buy. I hope you got a thing or two from this video. Look forward to sharing with you other amazing videos next time. Cheers guys, and you all stay safe.